Hi there again, and today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter and cover more of a different aspect of what I've done in the past and a site that I still maintain, which you see on your screen right now, Xanadu. It is a project that was started by someone named Linda Kelly a long time ago, a good old friend of mine, who left the Open Simulator community, and that was a community I used to be a part of. I ran a small business inside of it a few years ago, and it's basically an open simulator, hence its name, which just simulates a giant world. If you've ever played Second Life, it's kind of the open source version of that. So a lot of people, like educators and other people who just want to start out and just play with it, need resources because it by default, there's nothing there. It's just a blank world. So this website kind of hosts a bunch of assets and everything. So like I can show you, there's she just made a giant collection of things and wanted to give them away for free. She originally had it under the public domain license, but apparently that wasn't permissive enough for some educational institutions outside the United States. So with her express consent, it was switched to public domain, and from public domain to CC0. So you also have here, she's made some like her own characters with backstories and some of that nature, complete furnished worlds that you can just download and import. It's she put a lot of work into this, and it's a lot of content for anyone to just simply use, download, and install. These are full inventories, or you can just shove something right into your account's inventory. And if you don't know OpenSim, that's cool. You don't need to understand what this video is about. When I took over this system, this website, and started hosting it myself to maintain all these free public resources, there's about, I would say, 20 gigs worth of data of all those asset files. There's zips, IARs, which are IARs and OARs are just hard gzips with some special encoding in the header that the application uses to decode them. With that said, that's 20 gigabytes. And the way that she was hosting it is she was just hosting it on a shared web hosting provider, which is fine and it's good enough, but I wanted to make sure this project stays going long term. And with that said, I wanted to see how low of a cost I could get it down to. So I first started out by leaving it as WordPress because that's what this is built on. And it's still currently on WordPress, but towards the end, I'm going to explain one of the things that I'm working on as a side project to bring it down to even cheaper and hopefully to keep it running even if I pass away or something in the future, because I don't live forever and just want assets to stay available forever if possible. So first place I started was, let's offload the assets, because some places were upset because there for a while it was about 2 to 400 gigs worth of downloads every month. Just because so many people access this stuff. And still today, it's not as crazy as that anymore, but we still get a download rate of about 60 to 150 gigs a month, which isn't too bad depending on your storage provider. In the beginning, I looked at Amazon Web Services, the standard, because it is accessed pretty frequently. But while it's 2.3 cents per gigabyte, the part that gets expensive is when you come down here and you look at the actual bandwidth costs, which of course is not on this page. Basically, your bandwidth cost is where it really starts to nickel and dime you. When you want to use this, you'd probably want to go out through CloudFront because it's actually cheaper just to use CloudFront, interestingly enough. So let me go to storage, content delivery, CloudFront. So if we go over to CloudFront and we look at its pricing, you get 50 gigs out when you're on your free tier, but after that, pricing goes to, almost $1 per gig, which when I was moving 500 gigs a month, that's $500 almost. Oh, I'm sorry, 10 cents a gig. So that'd still be $50 a month, and I didn't want to spend that much. But we have people downloading this from all over the world. So what I looked at was a different provider. And at the time I was using OVH, and they're still around, and they still offer object storage. They have data centers across the world. They're one of the largest data center providers around the world at the lowest prices. Their dedicated stuff's great. Their cloud stuff's great. Their VPSs are hit or miss, performance wise. But that said, just like AWS, incoming traffic's included. Outgoing is, only 1.1 cent a gigabyte out. And when I was doing this, I didn't have a month where I spent more than maybe $3 or $4 on the outgoing bandwidth, and the storage was like 17 cents because of how cheap the storage price is. Just look how cheap that is. And for the longest time, this is where I used, and I put a cluster in North America, because their North American one is in Canada at the time, and I think that's still where their biggest one is. They do have one in Northern Virginia now in the United States, because they have recently entered the United States. But at the time, I was using their data center in Canada, and it's on the East Coast, and it was great, had great performance. People didn't have any issues with it. But move forward, I started looking at other options, and I was like, wonder if I can get this even cheaper. And you'd think, why do you want it cheaper than like $3 or $4? Well, because you want to make something as cheap as possible without losing quality. Well, then came this company, Wasabi. Now, the downside of Wasabi is you don't pay for what you use until you exceed your first terabyte. So you do have to pay the $6 a month. I signed up back when they were $4.99. They did increase their pricing a little bit. I am grandfathered at the $4.99 pricing, but it did cancel my account, so I'm not grandfathered anymore. Mainly I canceled because their service is really unreliable for my use case. I was using them to serve my static assets. But if you look at their website's status page, they have a lot of outages. They don't always last too long, but they're just too many ups and downs for it to be used for serving my static assets. And with the static assets, I mean all the actual downloadable files. So like the whole region files here, where if I click on one of these, like the English Garden, this links to a tar gzip, and all those static files, people were downloading them, and when Wasabi would go offline, those links would just fail. So it was not a really good option for me. That said, I was just like, all right, well, we gotta move. So then I started evaluating Spaces. This is a service from DigitalOcean. And what's interesting about them is they give you 1 terabyte of transfer and 250 gigabytes of storage for $5 a month. And then you just pay per increment over that you use. Well, that's a flat rate, and I didn't ever go over a terabyte of outbound at any point. So I was like, $5 pretty solid. And at the time that I was looking, what made me catch my eye is they also have a built-in CDN, making it even cheaper. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is actually a pretty decent option. But at the same time, Cloudflare partnered with Backblaze, who I'd been using for my backups locally because they're cheap pricing, but their downloads were also kind of expensive. But then this came out, the Bandwidth Alliance with Cloudflare. And with this promise here, Bandwidth Alliance pricing, Blackblaze will offer free data transfer to all shared customers. Meaning, if I use Cloudflare to handle the traffic of my downloads from my bucket at Backblaze B2, I pay nothing. It is purely paid for by the Alliance. So I don't have to pay any egress. Similar to Wasabi, Wasabi has no egress, but their reliability, I mean, they're great if you just want to do backups and you don't need to serve static content, they're great. But if you need to serve content from your bucket, like you would with S3 or any of the others, it is just not reliable, in my personal experience. But the Bandwidth Alliance, V2, I've never had any outages, and I don't really see Backblaze ever having anything. And if they do, they usually schedule it far out ahead and they notify people. They're really good about it. And even when they do have spontaneous outages, they're very, very short lived. With Wasabi, I had 2 outages within 2 months that were like over 2 hours each, which is just, in my opinion, unacceptable. Granted, I'm paying very little, but still, it just, to me, seemed unacceptable. So, switched here. Now, Backblaze only charges, let me hold up their main site here. Backblaze.com. So that should be 2. As you'll see right down here, their pricing is half a penny a month. And their download is competitive too at only 1 cent a month. Cutting everyone. But again, with the Alliance, this turns to 0. Nothing for download. So I only have to pay half a penny. So that cut my costs from 1.12 cents to 0.5 cents. Now, I use my Backblaze for lots of backups. My home NAS, my home, backing up my actual personal computers, and for hosting some other static website content too, that's not just the Sataru project. So, I'm going to show you my personal account here. I have 1.8 terabytes stored, so that's a lot. Transactions are how many downloads have happened from the account. And this month so far, and we're still really early in the month, it's only the 9th when I record this. And no, it's not even the 9th, is it? I think I have the date wrong. No, it is the 9th. I'm right. So it's on the 9th when I record this. We've had 54 gigabytes downloaded already. And it's files by name. But if we scroll down here, all 54 are under free transfers, meaning that it went out the Cloudflare gateway that I have configured. I'll link in the description an article on Backblaze's website on how to configure and set that up. I might even do a video later on some fancy work that I do to make it work with custom domain layouts and stuff, because you can't fully do it the full customized way you want. But there's some workarounds that I've created and some other people have done as well. That's pretty cool. My method is a little bit outdated because there are some people using Cloudflare workers that do it even more automated than the way I do. But I'll cover that in a later video if people are interested. Now you will see here there is some purple. The purple are downloads I did have to pay for. So this month, in April, I downloaded a terabyte and had to pay for it. Now these purple are not because of the Cloudflare connection. As I explained, I have NAS in my home network, and the thing about that was I accidentally screwed something up with one of the drives when I was reinstalling. I didn't wipe it, but apparently the partition table got messed up, and I lost a terabyte of data. And thankfully, because I back up my NAS, I was able to download it all. But because I didn't download it through Cloudflare because it's a private bucket, I used my backup software, so it didn't go through the Cloudflare gateway, thus I was charged for it. I could have worked around that. I could have downloaded it through the Cloudflare gateway, but that would have required some extra effort because my program has its own way. I was using Restic at the time, and Restic would pull through the API directly, thus not going through the Cloudflare exit point. But again, that has nothing. But as you see here, 625 gigabytes. Went out, no charge. 173, no charge. 107, no charge. 141, no charge. 89, no charge. 110, no charge. So all of these, 136, no charge. 112, 121, 98. I had a Also, is switching backup solutions to something more compressed, so I downloaded some more stuff. Again, this is not related to the Cloudflare Exit, which is the greenish blue color. And then 125, and then this month so far 54. So all I pay is for the storage of the assets, and then since they're half a penny, let you do 20 and half a penny, that's 10 cents. So the total cost of hosting the assets of Xanadu is 10 cents a month, plus this website's hosting cost, which I pay $40 a year for shared hosting with unlimited sites currently, but I'm looking at leaving that and going to static sites soon. Which brings me to the final thing. Xanaru's cost is still bundled in with that $40, and I want to get it to where it's even going to outlast me and be cheaper for even more. I'm going to upload the full tar gzip of all the assets and slowly upload them into archive.org because they are free and public domain /cc0. And with that said, that is this new website, beta.xanadu.com. I am working on it. It is a fully static version of the site. And the new estimated cost is around 85 cents a month. But I'm working on getting that even lower. And you might even see it get pretty low here very soon. But with that said, it is just basically a redone version of the site. With all the assets, it's still not completely done, but it's a more slimmed down, static version. All the information's still here. All the files are still here. It's still not complete. I still need to finish a lot of the other files, like the terrains haven't been moved over. Textures I'm partially done with. I've slowly got to finish moving everything over. But the best part and how I know it'll continue to exist is the main backend files will be on archive.org. And the source code of the website is right here on GitHub. And to host the website completely for free, it's hosted with GitHub pages where you can host repo your own organization or project sites completely free on GitHub pages for zero cost, and it's just free. No cost whatsoever, no ads, no tracking. It's great. It's perfect. I love it. And this will help the project live on for as long as it can. And if something happens to me and the domain goes away, someone can just fork this repo and rehost it or do whatever. I think it is a great way to continue the project going forward, and hopefully I'll be able to finish this soon. If anyone wants to help me, again, it is available on here, and you can see on my code what I'm doing and how I'm writing it. Just basically, it's doing by hand, linking everything up and writing the HTML, JavaScript, putting it all together. But that's it. I just wanted to show you how I went from almost $10 a month with the hosting of the WordPress and everything else to now currently it's about $1.50 a month with the shared hosting, Backblaze, and all the other parts. But when I'm done, I think I might get this down to only like the actual, like maybe 10 cents a month. Well, I think the reason I put 85 cents here is because I also have to include the yearly domain cost. So yeah, with the monthly domain cost, once everything's moved over to the static version of the website, it's probably only going to be 85 cents a month. And most of it's no moving parts. Once it's static, no need to update WordPress or maintain a database. All the objects are stored in object storage. I'll be putting a backup to all of them in archive.org, so if something ever happens and I can't pay the bill anymore because I'm dead or something else happens, it will be able to continue to function and people will continue to be able to download all the assets and content. I think this is just a really cool project that I maintain. It's completely free. Like I said, I took it over. I am by no means the designer of any of the assets on the site. I have just maintained the website, building this new version of the static one, and lowering its cost where it costs practically nothing and where it doesn't require, and slowly to the point to where it will not require any more maintenance from me other than paying the bills on autopay. It's really something else. I think this is just a really cool project, if you think it's pretty cool. I'd love to hear your opinions and thoughts on anything I've brought up here today. Um, Leave some comments in the comment section if you have any questions for me about how I did all this, or if you'd be interested in a video that shows you how to set all of this up to where you can use Cloudflare and Backblaze to host your static assets for just the storage cost. I'd love to show you off that if that's something you guys would be interested in. So thank you again, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.